Here's your reminder to slow me down. Slow me down. 1.5. Here we go. Vocab. You've got to know your vocab because you know I talk fast. And in class, when I use the vocab, I expect you to understand it. So if you can't follow the vocabulary, we're already going to be lost in conversation. So it's super important to understand what the heck am I even talking about. So if you look at this, remember we're talking about an expression here. An expression, there's no equal sign. It's just an expression. It's a phrase. So if you look up here, you got a lot of stuff going on, right? If you look at them, you've got these terms. Terms, see, we have terms and we have these kind of terms. Terms are separated by positive and negatives. Positive and negative integers, positive and negative numbers, right? So here we have a term, 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 and here we have a term. So if I look at this, I have 6 terms going on. They're individual things, separated by a positive and negative sign. That's what it comes down to. That's a term. Now, we can further break it down by variable terms and constant terms, but we gotta know what it means. A variable term, all it means is it's got a variable in it. It is a term that has a variable in it. It's got a letter. That's all it means. So if you look at the variable terms, you got a 7x, you've got a negative 5x, you've got to include your sign, and you've got a 4x. So if I look at the variable terms, I have 7x, negative 5x, and positive 4x. It is just a term with a variable. So then what's a constant term? A constant term, it's a number. It's always going to stay the same. I can substitute any value I want in there to change that. But a constant term stays the same. It's constant all the time. This will be a 3, always a 3. I can't change it. This is a positive 8, and this is a negative 1. So my constant terms are just numbers that stand alone. Okay? Now, this is important. It kills me when students don't know what a coefficient is by the time of midterms. Like, you gotta know what a coefficient is. A coefficient is the number in front of the variable. That's all it means. It is the number in front of the variable. So this is a variable, x. A coefficient is how many variables you got? Well, I've got 7. This is a coefficient. Coefficient is never a variable, it is a number. It is the number in front of the variable. So you have 7 x's here. You have negative 5 x's here, and you have positive 4 x's there. These are huge vocab words that I expect you to understand. All right, now that we've gone over those basics, let's talk about how do you combine. And I know you guys have seen this before. This is nothing new to you. So you simplify an expression by combining like terms. This means you combine common variable terms and constant terms. So let's circle our variable terms. 7x, negative 5x, positive 4x. And because of the commutative property, I can combine these any way I want. So a negative 5x and a 4x is negative 1x, and 7x is here. So 7x and a negative x is 6 x's. That's my variable term. That's how we combine them. My constant terms, 3 plus 8 minus 1. This would be 7 plus 3, which is 10. So it is important to know, when you combine like terms, your constant terms can only be combined with constant numbers. Okay? And your variable terms have to be exactly the same, or you can't do it. All right, so let's look at number 1. First, you have to ask yourself, can you? Are you allowed to? Is this possible? Woo, that is crazy. Is it possible to even combine these? So let's look at number 1. Are my variable terms exactly the same? X and X. Yes. So it's basically like, you know, when you're in kindergarten and your kindergarten teacher told you, hey, mister, I need you to go put all the red markers in with the red tub. They had to be exactly alike. If you put a red marker in with a blue tub, it's going to send a teacher crazy zone. So you've got 3 x's and 6 x's, which is 9 x's. My variable does not change. That's still a red tub, right? All right. Look at Number 2, do you have more positives or negatives? You've got more negatives. So right away, you know it's negative. How many more negatives do you have? 1. Now, here's what's important. In math, we want it simple. If you give me this on your paper, I am that teacher that's going to take minus 1 point off. Why am I going to take minus 1 point off? Because this is not simplified. Negative 1a is the same thing as negative a. It is understood that when your coefficient is 1, you don't need it. It is already understood to be there. It's like saying, okay, you have an x or you have a 1x. It means the same thing. This is more simplified. Your mom told you to go to the store and pick up an apple, which means the same as 1 apple. An apple, 1 apple. Okay? Simplified, not simplified. Minus 1 point if not simplified. Okay? All right, let's look at number 3. You've got 7m, negative 5m, which is 2m, and then you get minus 6. So we're going to kind of fly through these now that I've kind of explained them. So I'm going to jump down here so I don't have to erase. And let's look at number 5. No, let's do number 7. All right, so let's look at number 7 real quick. I've got 5x, negative x, and 3x, which is 7x. I have a 7y and a 2y, which is 9y. Notice I can't combine x's and y's. Not the same. Over here, I have 26a, negative 4a, which is 22a. I have a 2b and a 10b, which is 12b. Can't combine. They're not the same. All right, let's look up. Now, terms with the same exponents or combinations are considered like terms. When you have like terms, you can't change the variable. Don't change it. They're not the same. So in this situation, x squared and x squared is the same. So I can combine them and keep that same term. I'm not changing the term. Like terms combine and stay the same. Over here, n to the 5th is the same as n to the 5th, so when I combine them, I get negative 11 n to the 5th. Okay? My c squareds are all the same, so I combine all my c squareds, and I'm going to get c cubed. C cubed is all going to be the same. Let's look at number 12. Look at number 12. You've got k's and you have k squareds. They are not the same. Those are unlike terms. So I'm going to do my k's first. I have a negative k and a negative 5k, which is a negative 6k. I've got an 8k squared and a negative 2k squared, which is positive 6k squared. And then I've got that constant term left over. You can keep it in this order right now. Later in the year, we're going to make sure you understand how to do it correctly. Commutative property says this is okay, but usually our highest variable goes first. All right, so that is combining like terms.